I'm gonna get this out of the way right at the start. I haven't watched the final season of Stranger Things, not because I hate the show, not because I'm trying to be edgy, but because it's been so long, I genuinely cannot remember what happened, and I refuse to rewatch 4 entire seasons just to catch up. Also, I say this with love, it shouldn't take 10 years to make 5 seasons of a TV show. I was a different person when this show started. My back hurts now. I've aged emotionally. And at some point, when a show takes so long to finish, I stop emotionally waiting for it. It's like an old friend you're meant to text back, and then suddenly it's been 3 years and it just feels weird. But also, this is important, this video is not about that. This video is about Eleven. Because if you've ever watched Stranger Things and had this quiet niggle in the back of your head, hang on, I've seen this story before, you're not wrong. You're thinking of Elfen Lied. So, before we get into it, my name is Darv James. Welcome to this episode of The Bald Book Geek. If you want to support this channel, you can leave a comment, you can like, you can subscribe, hit that hype button, that thing works wonders. But if you want to keep the lights on, you're welcome to become a channel member, join the Patreon, Substack, or even Ko-fi. It all helps, and there's some little bonuses to everyone who wants to join. Early access and a podcast. So let's get into it, shall we? Eleven isn't just a character, she's a trope with a history. She is one of the most recognisable TV characters of the last 10 years. The shaved head, the hospital aesthetic, the limited speech, the nosebleeds, the psychic powers tied directly to pain. She's a child raised in complete isolation. And instead of being treated as a person, she's treated as a weapon, told directly or indirectly that she's dangerous. And that's what makes her interesting. She's a reaction in terms of writing, and I'm not going to get into that, but there's a thing called a reaction to a situation, and 11 is that. But what makes her work isn't the powers either, it's the cost. Her abilities aren't cool, they're not fun, they hurt her. Every time she uses them, something is taken from her, physically, emotionally, mentally. That's not an accident. Because 11 fits into a very specific science fiction and fantasy trope. The child raised in horrible circumstances with godlike powers. And what Stranger Things does well, and what Elfen Lied did years earlier, it refuses to make the powers an aspiration. This isn't wish fulfillment, it's survival. Elfen Lied is a 2004 anime based on a manga. When are they not? And yes, let's address it up front. Elfen Lied is violent, it's disturbing, it's extremely 2000s anime in the most unapologetic, brilliant way possible. But underneath the shock value is a story that is uncannily familiar. If you watch Stranger Things, the main character, Lucy, in Elfen Lied, is born different. She belongs to a mutant species. She's feared, isolated, experimented on, imprisoned in a lab, violated. She's not raised, she's been contained. And when she escapes, the world reacts in horror, not because she's evil, but because she is a true reflection of the consequences of what they did to her. Sound familiar? Both structurally, emotionally, thematically, this is the same kind of story, just told without the nostalgia filter. Let's line this up. Lucy and 11, same DNA, different presentation. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Both Lucy and 11 are children raised in labs, are subjected to extreme mistreatment, have telekinetic powers, are feared by the adults who created them, are treated as tools, not people, lash out violently because violence is all they were ever taught. Even visually, the comparison tracks. Lucy's pink hair and horns, 11's shaved head and hospital gown. Different aesthetic, same message. But here's where it goes deeper. Lucy doesn't just suffer trauma, she fractures. She splits into two identities. The angry, violent survivor and the innocent, childlike version who just wants kindness. It's exaggerated, sure, but emotionally, Eleven does the same thing. Early Eleven is quiet, withdrawn, barely verbal. Later Eleven tries to form normality. Mall outfits, friend groups, relationships. She's trying on identities because she was never allowed to form one. That's not a superhero arc, that's a trauma response. And Eleven asks a harder question. Here's the real difference between the two stories. Stranger Things asks, what if a child was raised in extreme mistreatment and turned into a weapon? Could love save her? Elfen Lied asks something much nastier. What if love comes too late? Lucy doesn't escape before the damage. She escapes after. And that's why Elfen Lied feels so harsh. The violence isn't the point, it's the consequence. Lucy isn't born evil, she's made. Every act of brutality in the story tracks back to neglect, cruelty, dehumanization, which is the fear Eleven is always orbiting. Both stories understand something critical. That real horror isn't always monsters, it's adults. The real villains aren't monsters from another dimension, they're the adults in white coats, clipboards, ethics committees that quietly stop asking questions. In Elfen Lied, the scientists are terrified of Lucy, but they never ask why she hates them. In Stranger Things, well, one of the characters genuinely believes he's doing the right thing, and that's the scariest part because it's believable. Both stories land on the same quiet truth. The moment you stop seeing a child as human, you create the monster that you fear. So let's be honest. Elfen Lied is uncomfortable in a way Stranger Things will never fully be allowed to be. There's no nostalgic cushion. There's no pop songs to soften the blows. There's no group of kids on bikes to balance the sadness. It sits in grief, it sits in silence, and lets those moments linger way too long on purpose. That's why people bounce off of it. That's also why it sticks with you. You don't forget Elfen Lied even if you didn't like it. And that kind of story leaves fingerprints on everything that came after. So question, did Stranger Things copy Elfen Lied? No, and also kind of. This isn't accusing anyone of copying, it's about recognizing the lineage. Stories don't come out of nowhere. They evolve, they borrow, they reframe. Stranger Things takes the emotional core of Elfen Lied and makes it accessible. Elfen Lied takes the same core from what came before it and refuses to make it comfortable. Same language, different accent. And maybe that's why Eleven resonates so much, because underneath the power and the monsters, her story isn't about saving the world, it's about surviving what's been done to you and figuring it out who you're allowed to be afterwards. Anyway, I'm not watching the final season of Stranger Things. I'm just assume something explodes, somebody cries, and the internet argues about it for the next 6 months. Maybe I'll watch it one day when I have the time or have the energy to catch up on the previous seasons, because 10 years, guys, come on. But anyway, if you enjoyed that, like I said at the beginning, like, sub, do the usual, and if you want to support this channel, there are plenty of ways to do it. And just remember, sometimes the monsters are the people that are meant to protect us.